Teaching number 19. Humanity, calm down your mind agitated by the vicissitudes and uncertainties of life. How much you fight trying to get rid of the darkness in which you live, despite finding yourself in a full time of light. Great is your struggle, and that is why you come tired. I have called you precisely to rest for a few moments, because you will have to continue in the fulfillment of your mission that you have barely begun. From time to time I have been removing the veils of my arcane according to your evolution, because only those who walk this path will be able to reach me. I am the Master who seeks humanity on all paths to teach them the true path. My word comes as a sword of light to fight against the ignorance and unbelief of men. I come to manifest myself before those who have denied my existence, to ask them, who formed the universe with its diversity of worlds, barely visible to you? Ah, humanity, that in your estrangement from the truth you have had the audacity to think that the idea of a creator has been a simple invention of the human mind. How can you imagine that from your limited and small mind could arise the notion of the eternal and the infinite? But also those who say they love me come to me, and to them I say, how can you say that you love me, if you do the opposite of what my law dictates, if you yourselves betray yourselves by showing sentiments in your works that contradict your words? Right here, among these multitudes that listen to me, how many there are who claim to be spiritualists and still do not know the power and wisdom of spiritualism, nor the powers and attributes of the Spirit, and with their works they deny my doctrine that as radiant light spiritually illuminates humanity. But my patience is infinite to wait for you to become my disciples. I have to make torches of you that, with their light, carry to other peoples the original message that you received as a revelation, through human understanding. If men deny your testimony and deny you, remind them that I had an appointment with the humanity of this time, which I have come to fulfill. Tell them that if I promise to return, it is because my task was not yet finished and will not be finished until there is not a single sin. It is written that if 99 sheep are in the fold and I miss one, I will look for that one. I want to show you again the power of my love by converting the hard hearts of humanity into apostles of my doctrine, starting with this people, no less hard of heart than the others. I come to tell you to expand your knowledge with this new message that I have brought you so that you can join it to my past revelations until you manage to form in your understanding the book of wisdom, so that you may be worthy to bear witness to my truth and to teach it to others, your brothers. They will call you agitators, but do not fear, because your master was also judged at that time for disturbing, according to what men say, the peace. Truly I say to you, that I not only came to shake the hearts of a few men with my revelations, but to shake the spirit of all humanity with my word. Thus I come to you at this time in which my light will manifest itself in various forms on men and will shake them again, some with joy, others with fear, others with anger, but there will not be one who, when the time comes for my message to be known, that won't be moved. How weak you have been to call for Christ, when you knew that he was to come. But now that you have my revelation and my message, do not be weak, timid or cold. Have I hurt you by calling you hard of heart? I have only told you the truth, because in all worlds, all creatures comply with my law, and you do not respond to my divine call. But do not fear, because none has yet reached the goal, but all of you will arrive, I promise you, I who am the promise of all times, I, the tireless, who will never stop teaching you. You begin to dream of being carriers and apostles of the truth, but do not rush, always carry the light of your conscience as a guide, because how will you manifest the truth if you have not yet found it in yourselves? How are you going to show that you love me and your brothers, if you leave thorns and thistles in the path of your fellow men? The water of the river of life, which is my truth, is meek, crystalline and pleasant, but do not confuse it with the water that you give to the needy, because this is sometimes impure. Take my blessing, may it be in you like a spring of inexhaustible water that quenches the immense thirst that overwhelms you. My blessing is like a balm on your illnesses, ailments, and bitterness. It raises to life those who are losing strength on their path of evolution. To help you in your elevation, I make my peace be in the heart of the apostle of the third era, whom I receive on behalf of humanity, and through him I give my charity. Today you hear my voice through the human understanding that tells you again, love one another, so you heard the voice of the Lord on the lips of Jesus, when he taught you to love your neighbor as yourself, in confirmation of the law that the people of Israel received through Moses in the first era. Moses was my spokesman at that time. He took you to the gates of the promised land, but I did not allow him to enter it, because there you would have crowned him king, and truly I tell you, that his kingdom was not of this world either. The land of promise was given to the people, so that they could live in peace and elevate their worship to the Father. In Jerusalem, that people built the first temple to Jehovah, and in it the divine Spirit was manifested. There he received the complaint or the praise of the children of those tribes. On its altar you placed the Ark of the Covenant, symbol of your pact with the Father, and kings and wise men bowed their heads before the tabernacle. The priests in charge of the worship were filled with love at first, but later they let the gnawing worm of vanity and greed penetrate their hearts and became hypocrites, false and profane. It was then that the prophets appeared one after another, announcing the coming of the Messiah, who were denied, mocked and sacrificed by the people. This is how they prepared my arrival, with their blood. As every word that comes from God must be fulfilled, the Messiah was born among humanity and came to teach you how to comply with the law of the Father and worship God by loving and forgiving, filling the life of men with comfort and light. I arrived as a shepherd to gather the sheep that the wolves had already begun to steal, and I showed them the sheepfold. Throughout my time on earth, I taught men about love and the fruits that spring from it, which they called miracles. Those works kindled faith in hearts, and through it I made them contemplate the true path. Thousands and thousands of men witnessed my word and my works, but only 12 followed me closely. When the time for my departure approached, I told them, the Passover festival is going to be celebrated in Jerusalem. It is necessary that we go there so that the prophecies are fulfilled. So I made my last recommendations to my disciples, recording them in their spirit with the divine fire of my love. I went to Jerusalem with my disciples. When I crossed the gate of the city, on the humble and meek mule, the crowd, among which were the sick that I healed, the blind that saw again, the paralyzed that walked and the sad that were consoled and full of hope, they raised hymns and songs of praise and glory, because the promised Savior had finally arrived. No one knew that on that Passover I would be the slain lamb. As I passed by and under the light of my gaze, hearts trembled, the sick were healed and words of praise and gratitude to the rabbi emerged from his chest. Then the Pharisees approached me and said, Lord, make your disciples and these people stop their disturbance, because they upset the order of the city during the festival, to which I replied, in truth, if they would be silent, the stones would cry out for joy. Those Pharisees moved away, but already their fearful and worried hearts before the works that Jesus did, they were plotting the betrayal. So I came to the porch of the temple, which had once been a sanctuary for the Lord's people and had afterwards become their marketplace, and I drove out its profaners. The heart and the works of those who said they were ministers of the Lord and doctors of the law, were being left naked before the actions of Jesus. It was then that they asked to kill him so as not to lose their power, which was threatened. One of my disciples who had heard my word of love a lot, who spoke of the kingdom of the Spirit and who had felt in his heart the caress and love of his master, went with his weakness and lack of faith in my promises, was the door that opened to let in the human wickedness that fell on me. With what hatred those men shouted and asked Caesar's subject to crucify me. But it was necessary for the Son of God to see himself in great trials for men to contemplate his humility, his love and his power. The blood of that body was shed on earth, and the human lips that manifested the divine word in the world, did not stop speaking of love and forgiveness until the last moment on the cross. And Christ was one with the Father, because the word that became man to be heard in the world has always been in God. Years later, the city and that profane temple were destroyed so that my word would be fulfilled, not a stone was left unturned from that. I had said that the temple of Solomon, being in human eyes so regal, great and magnificent, I could destroy it and rebuild it in 3 days. Truly I tell you, that men have not understood the spiritual meaning of those words, because time does not pass over me, since I am eternity. Here I am in the third era, on the third day, laying the foundations for the true temple and building it in the spirit of men. Elijah was chosen to announce to you that the book of 7 seals had been loosed and was opened at the 6th seal. My word has come full of light to ignite your faith, so that you no longer fall into idolatry, and let me build my temple in your heart. See that the works made by the hands of men are destroyed, while the works of the Spirit, they are immortal. The lost will be found and the confused enlightened, and all will find the path that will lead them to the promised land. If here on earth you did not want to recognize me or let me gather you as the bird gathers its chicks under its wings, beyond this world I will gather you under my mantle of peace eternally. People, I have reminded you of my life among you, because the days of commemoration of that last week that I spent among humanity are drawing near. In those days you feel as if a message descended from infinity for you. Everything you look at seems to speak to you about me. The sun, the fields, the cities, the men, you feel everything as if it spoke to you about the Master. It is that the memory makes you feel my presence again, and I send you my message of love again. If these days your eyes want to cry, let them; if your heart trembles with love, let it also. Christ, whom a multitude rejected, is the same one who now comes to manifest himself to you, because it was the body that men destroyed, but not the word that spoke through him. What death could stop my steps, or what grave could hold me? However, you, without wanting it, without realizing it, have buried in your heart the truth whose essence is that of the Master. That material that you carry, you have turned into the sepulchre of your spirit. Let the Spirit lift the slab of your heart so that it rises full of light to true life. So I easily explain to you what you think is difficult to understand: Christ and divine love are the same Father. Jesus was the perfect man who manifested God's message. He was the highest expression of spirituality, that is why he is called the Divine Master. O beloved disciples! When you think of the works I did in the world, you feel too clumsy and small to imitate me. When you meditate on the times that have passed since then, you realize that you have evolved very little spiritually. There are times when you feel the desire and the need to develop your spiritual gifts, to directly receive my messages, as well as to penetrate the future and resolve through the attributes of the Spirit the conflicts, trials and chaos that surrounds you among humanity. How much do you want to see with the gaze of the Spirit? And you will see, but it will be when you discover that letting yourselves be led by the light of conscience that illuminates your spirit, you better understand the revelations of the Lord. For now, study this message and write it down, because times will come when you will no longer hear this word, and then only the writings will remain. I want my word, when the books that will spread throughout the earth are formed, to be printed without stain, pure, just as it came from me. If you make it reach your books in this way, a light will sprout from it that will illuminate humanity, and its essence will be felt and understood by all men. My message of this time will also be denied and fought. Some will say that my manifestation had no purpose, but do not fear, because my work of the second era has also been discussed, denied, mocked, and, nevertheless, heart by heart and spirit by spirit have recognized and valued that passion that I lived among you. Yes, people, know that there have been and there are those who say, what relationship does the pain of Jesus have with your salvation? His pain cannot give us glory. And the Spirit of truth tells you, I went among men through Jesus, like those fragrant plants that perfume the hands of the one who lost their life. That tree that you gave me and that I accepted, was proof of my love for you, and also proof that you would be saved by my example. Why do you think that if I had known that my sacrifice was going to be useless, I would have offered it to you? Don't you remember that I told you that not a single seed is lost in the Father's work? When the side of the Master was opened, I wanted you to see in it the door that opened for all of you to dwell in eternity, and the first to contemplate that door was the soldier who plunged his spear into the body of Jesus. My love is like the tree that perfumes the woodcutter's axe that rips out its existence. Every drop of blood from that body was shed on this humanity, forgiving everyone and perfuming their existence with the divine essence of my teachings. But if it seemed to this humanity in its blindness that that sacrifice was not enough for its salvation, here is my word again, not the word of the man who has not known how to explain that message, but my word that comes to teach you the immortal essence of my doctrine and my works, a divine explanation with which men will know the spiritual value of that blood shed on Calvary for love of humanity. I come to tell you what is the essence of that sacrifice, because you are mine as I am yours. I have never seen enemies in any creature because you are all my children. The word enemy profanes the lips of the one who pronounces it, referring to a brother. Longinus pierced my side and I spilled on him the blood that was light in his blind eyes. I want you to be like your master, to rightly call you my disciples. My heritage is love and wisdom. It was Christ who came to you and it is Christ who speaks to you in these moments, but do not try to separate me from God, nor look at me outside of him, because I am and have always been one with the Father. I have told you that Christ is divine love, therefore do not try to separate me from the Father. Do you believe that he is a father without love for his children? How do you conceive it? It is time that you recognize it. No one is ashamed to call God, the Creator, Father, because that is his true name. I have brought you the light again so that you can analyze what you had not been able to understand before. If I told your spirit before sending it to earth that I was going to give it a world of teachings, today I tell it that I offer it a heaven of wisdom. Walk this path of spirituality and you will receive that heaven I speak of. The wisdom of the Spirit is light that never goes out. I am the Master, I am Christ who speaks to you through your conscience, in the way that only I have to reach each one of you, the one that caresses you when speaking to you. Here you have me looking for apparently useless beings for a labor of love, those who I know will serve me because I have created them. I come to use your spirit, your will, your heart, your mind, and while you reach the moment of your preparation and enlightenment, in which I can use you by becoming my instruments, I leave you my teachings for may you learn the wise lesson. Thus, preparing yourselves with my word, penetrate these days of remembrance. Meditate on that hour when the earth protested against human ingratitude and the sky darkened, but when the Lamb did not protest. The look of the Master on Golgotha was sad, but with it he blessed you. He was going to die for those crowds, but he knew that he would soon resurrect in each heart, when they were born to faith. Those who go to Jerusalem say that in those lands there is an atmosphere that overwhelms the spirit and that even the light seems strange. Truly I tell you, it is the voice of conscience, it is the memories that make the heart tremble, and although Jesus died there and humanity stopped seeing him, Christ appears everywhere in essence, presence and power. Caravans of men and women are on their way to Jerusalem and when they step on those places, they bring to their minds sometimes sweet memories, sometimes bitter ones. They find everything saturated with the presence of Jesus. But why pilgrimage so much in search of material traces, each one having my divine presence in his spirit wherever he is? I would like you all to get up with this teaching to bring a message of fraternity, of good news, of love, a greeting, a drop of balm, a hug of friendship to all your brothers. I come at this time so that you contemplate from earth, with the light of my lessons, the new Jerusalem, the white city promised to the Spirit, the one that John my apostle contemplated in his revelation. But if in the first Jerusalem the wickedness of man elevated me to the cross of martyrdom, in the new city, which will be spiritual, the spirits will elevate me on the altar of their love. My peace be with you. Teaching number 20.